when you say your leadership journey, I prefer to look at it from the journey of your life. Because what we call leadership is reflected at different stages of your life. And when we take from what Pastor Tola was saying earlier, it's really from the things you do from an early stage. So I was raised by my grandmother because my dad went to England to go to school when my mom was pregnant with me. And barely a year after my mom had me, she left my brother and I with my grandmother and went to join her husband. So my grandmother raised us. We went to boarding school when I was 4 years old. Yes. Because my friends tell me every day that's responsible for my very independent streak. So, like Pastor Tola said earlier, different things in our lives prepare us for different parts of our lives. But my parents didn't want us to grow up in my family house with my grandmother, and they made her put us in a boarding school until they came back. When my parents came back, I was about 6 years old. And then we went back to my parents and had a full family growing up then. I think I was a very adventurous child in many ways. My curiosity was high. And I think I had parents that enabled and nurtured my curiosity. I also had people in my life that I think gave me opportunities to express myself. I was a keen athlete at school. I don't know if by any chance there's a Methodist Girls High School person in this house. But I went to Methodist Girls High School after primary school, and I think from my first year, I was in the school's relay team from my second year, debated for the school from my second year, and sort of just put my hands at everything. Acted, sang, it was just fun. So that nature allowed me to express myself in different ways. When I was in Form 4, for those who were in secondary school in Nigeria, I was a prefect as opposed to Form 5. Because of just some things I did, I was a sports prefect for my house. Anyway, then I went to Ife. Now, the reason I'm saying part of this is because at the end, you would see that every part of our life adds up to who we are, ultimately. When I wanted to go to university, from secondary school, I first thought I'd like to be a doctor. Then found out that in medical school, they use real cadavers. That was the end of the ambition, because I just could not comprehend dealing with a dead body. So I quickly abandoned that. And then thought I wanted to be an architect. But anyway, went to the university to study chemistry. By the end of my first year, I hated it. I could pass it, but I didn't love it. I then thought I would like to be a lawyer, because people always said, because I could debate well in school, everybody thought I'd make a great lawyer. Now, people will always have an opinion about your life. But just remember, it's just their idea. Like Pastor said, yeah, listen to it. The Bible says in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. But read it well. It didn't say in the multitude of instructions. Because counsel is not instruction. Counsel is information. So when you get the counsel, it helps you to get a 360-degree view of the situation. The only one who is responsible for the final decision is you. Because whatever it is they're saying must bear witness with your spirit. So you have a responsibility. So you can take 10,000 counsels, but take responsibility for the decision at the end of the day. So first I thought, okay, I'll make a good lawyer. Started camping out in front of the Dean of Law's office to try and transfer to law. Eventually, I think the secretary got tired of me and told him, you have to see this girl, she's been coming here every day. My nature, I'm just revealing the tenacity of my person. And so when I finally saw the man, he said, what do you want? He said, I want to transfer to law. I said, that's why you've been in my office every day? I said, yes. The man looked at me and thought, you know what, I like your guts. If I only take one person from another faculty next year, it will be you. But make sure you pass very well. Well, therein lies the problem. If I pass, who knows what happens in a Nigerian university? My department will never release me. If I fail, law will never take me. So anyway, I solved the problem myself, because by the end, I changed my mind about becoming a lawyer. I now decided that I would like to be a chartered accountant so I could go and work in a bank. So I started taking free electives from my second year to my last year of university in accounting, admin and accounting faculty in Ife. I finished, made sure I went to serve in Tola, Williams & Co. because I wanted to become a chartered accountant. But for that whole year, I discovered that I hated it. It was too boring. You know, they had all these tushros procedures. Somebody else had thought through what to do. I didn't have to apply my brain. I'm a very restless human being. I can't survive without thinking. So I realized I didn't like it. But I have a rule. Whatever my hands find to do, I do it well. So I did my job. They gave me a job at the end of the youth con. I said, thank you, but no thank you. Because whatever I have now discovered that I really do not want, I do not waste one more minute on it. So I left. Went back home, trying to see what I could do. Still wanted to work in a bank, but didn't want to become an accountant anymore. Anyway, whilst I was trying to find the bank job, I wanted to keep myself busy. My first job I could find 1 week after youth service was in a furniture company. So I went to work in the furniture company just to keep myself busy, waiting for my bank job. I lasted 3.5 months exactly there. I discovered in that space why I'd wanted architecture, considered architecture. I love design, I love the creative part of the production process and all of that, but I hated the value system of the company. So really, that was a bus stop just to reveal some things to me that was important. So I left them. I was in my mid-20s and I thought, I can do this and do it well with the right values. That's how I started my own company in furniture manufacturing. Now, in Nigeria, in the 80s, manufacturing of furniture for a young girl, it was madness. But I had 4 parents in the house. I had fantastic parents. My father was amazing in allowing you the power of expression. He raised us, we're mainly girls, but he raised us to think there was nothing we couldn't do. I didn't think there was something I couldn't do until the world started asking me, wasn't I afraid as a girl to do some things? So teach your girls to think the world is their playground. You will get the results of it. So they allowed me. They didn't say, go and get a job, blah, 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 all those pressures people put on children. My father allowed me to start trying to put together a manufacturing company. The backyard of my parents' house was my upholstery section. My chief carpenter had some uncompleted house next to his house in a neighborhood of Lagos I'd never been to before in my life. But that's where we started the carpentry work. And then, anyway, one thing led to the other. We got a workshop in Bakbajao in Mushi. Started from there. The Bible says, do not despise the days of humble beginnings. And I guess that's a 35-year-old story. From that, I have built the manufacturing group over the time. Now, my entire corporate career has come from my expression of myself in my enterprise. Now, there were 2 key things for me when I was starting. From just the value system of how I was brought up, I decided 2 things were important to me. I was never going to pay a bribe, and I was never going to sleep with a man to get a job. They look like perfect formula to fail in Nigeria, to build a business that required you to get contracts. But those were my rules. And I built according to that pattern. I only became a Christian after I started the business. I was raised a Muslim girl. So this was based on my home values. What then happened to me was I became a Christian shortly into it, and then found the strength of the word and the teachings in church to empower me to fight for those things, because then I understood I had things to back it up, and that strengthened my faith and my commitment to fight, to build a business in a certain pattern. And so when Nigeria, 15, 16 years down the line, corporate governance became a thing in Nigerian marketplace, people were looking for people that had certain value system. I had built a reputation of running my business with certain values. And so I got more invitations than I knew what to do with. And so one thing I can remember from a certain point, I joined the board of Cadbury one year, 2009, 2010. End of it was when I joined the board of First Bank. 3 months after that, I was appointed from First Bank to chair the board of the insurance company that was a startup. I did that for 2 years plus, and they took me out and sent me to be chair of FBN Capital. I think I was in the second year of that. We bought Kakawa Discount House. They asked me to chair both at the same time, and eventually led the two to form the group of FBN Quest Limited. I was just finishing that when they did the unthinkable of then having a girl become the chair of First Bank in its 122 years history at that point. So apart from the many other boards or stuff I was doing alongside whilst I was doing that. So yeah, it's been a journey and a half. It's been about deciding what was important to me. It's been about deciding what I was willing to fight for. It's been about deciding what I was willing to die for. Because you see, it's okay to start the fight. You must know that you're willing to die for it. And willing to die for it means you don't give it up, even when you see the troubles. And one thing I can tell you is that I have found that God is faithful to his word. You can trust him. And we will see troubles. You see, when we've preached the theology of convenience, we are going to, where God's battle axis, we have to be ready for the battle. You're never going to take territory except you fight for it. How did nations used to expand before? They fight to take land. Why is Russia fighting with Ukraine? Trying to take another nation's land. We are from a different nation from the one that we reside in. We have to learn how to fight the fight of faith and the fight of the word in the marketplace in order to take territory for the Lord. And we're all signed to that army.